Sarah and Shannon, thanks for joining me. Can you introduce yourselves?
Hey, Chris. I'm Sarah at Benchmark. I'm the Chief Operations Officer. And this is Shannon.
Hey, Chris. I'm Shannon. I am an advisor at Benchmark.
Tell us about Benchmark Wealth Management and your journey to Wealthbox with 19 team members using the platform.
Sure. We are a financial planning firm in Memphis, Tennessee. There are 19 of us, like you mentioned. We just have a really sweet culture here, a great group of advisors, 5 advisors and additional support staff, portfolio management, paraplanners, and admin, but all working together and making big changes, which is why we're so excited about this move to Wealthbox.
And I would just add to that over the last probably 5 or 6 years, our technology has evolved so much. And I think Wealthbox is going to prove to be one of the major milestones in that journey.
And what kind of challenges did Benchmark Wealth Management face before you made the switch to Wealthbox as your CRM?
Well, I think a big part of it, Chris, was that we've spent the last 10 years trying to get on the technology wheel, and that on-ramp can be difficult. We went from using an Excel spreadsheet to track all of our client requests, and we went from sitting in the same room for 2 hours a week, going through every single one of them to divvy out who's going to do what, to using a different CRM system. But the challenge with that is that it was almost too big of a jump.
It was really like someone had given us a really fancy sports car and we were riding it like a tricycle.
Yeah.
We were just doing our best. But ultimately, we spent tens of thousands of dollars on consultants. And there was just a constant sense of frustration that it wasn't efficient for what we were trying to do. It had so much potential, so many options, but it was not the right fit for us.
And how would you describe the efficiency and time savings of Wealthbox compared to your previous CRM?
I'll just give an example that comes to mind. With our previous CRM, we had to click a button, sometimes multiple times, to record an email and keep it in our system.
Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that. That is like the biggest win. How have we not talked about this? Sorry, keep going.
It's true though. You forget just how bad it was.
Yeah.
And so Wealthbox has created that time savings, and I don't have to hear the complaints anymore about how difficult it is to remember to click that button, or if you forgot to click the button for a week, having to go back to a week's worth of emails to save that email. So time savings is number one for the team. They don't have that heartache anymore. And then for the rest of us, not having to problem solve that for them.
So why did you ultimately choose Wealthbox?
So we did a lot of research, and Wealthbox stood out among competitors mostly because of the Wealthbox team. They knew what they were talking about. They were specifically focused on firms like ours. They had a finger on the pulse of what we were experiencing and pointed that out before we could put it into words.
We asked around. We asked other advisors, what are you using? We like what you're doing. What kind of tools do you have? Not only is Wealthbox the tool that met our level of technological need without being overly complicated, but the proof is in the pudding, and that we had actually seen it be successful for advisors.
So tell us about your experience with the transition. How long did it take your team to get fully up and running with Wealthbox?
Shockingly little time.
Yes.
Shockingly little time.
I mentioned that we came into this with some fear. I think we even communicated to the Wealthbox team, no, we're different. You haven't seen anything as complicated as our system. And you all kindly said, it's going to be okay. And it was okay. We were up and running within 24 hours, 3 days, I would say, to be fully functional. And then a couple weeks to have our entire team on board and using it like they've always used it. And that I could not have predicted. And if you had told me it would be that way, which I think you all did, I wouldn't believe you.
We didn't believe you.
Can you share how Wealthbox has supported your team's scalability and positioned you for future AUM growth?
Wealthbox has changed the conversation for us on scalability. It is within reach, it is happening, and we are mapping out ways to grow our client base and our team in ways we were never able to do before.
How has Wealthbox assisted your team in the prospecting process? And have you seen improvements in client acquisition as a result of switching to Wealthbox?
Yes, we have. Because we're mostly client referral driven as far as new prospects, our closing rate, if you will, has always been very high. But because of Wealthbox, we've actually seen it go up by 6%, which is huge for us.
I'd just add that I think Wealthbox gave us the confidence to move forward in pursuit of prospects. We knew we had processes in place and that Wealthbox would hold us accountable to those. Wealthbox tells me when it's time to do the next thing and reconnect with a prospect. It's not on me to remember that along with all the other plates we're spinning.
Yep.
So that's probably been the greatest assist Wealthbox has provided in our prospecting.
And speaking of referral business, you both had mentioned workflows and opportunities in Wealthbox, but can you discuss specific features of Wealthbox CRM that have enhanced your team's relationship building efforts with clients and prospects?
It all goes back to the workflows. The whole team is able to look at any relationship building activity that's been going on and then build off of that in a way that's really simple and easy.
And I think it's standard for client care. You know, everybody knows they'll hear from their financial advisor on their birthday. And yes, Wealthbox does that. It reminds us 2 weeks ahead of time. But beyond that, it gave us the platform to expand what we were already doing.
I would add one other thing too that I just thought of, but in workflows and tasks, y'all have made it really easy to split out not only what type of task, but also like what list it's on. So for some of our big project stuff that might feel a little overwhelming, we can kind of put that in one category that's visible here when we're ready to approach it. But for the things that are immediate and need action, we can kind of put them in this category over here. So we're not dropping the balls on important stuff and like losing the forest through the trees.
So if a financial advisory firm of your size asked you for feedback on Wealthbox as they decide on a CRM, what would you say?
I wish we had moved sooner, is what I would tell folks. I wish we hadn't been so fearful.
Yes. I mean, we've already been in situations, like we're part of a couple of groups of advisors and they get together at various points across the country. And in the most recent one that I was in, this conversation came up and somebody was deciding, what do you think? And we were able to say with confidence, like, you have to go with Wealthbox. It's not even a contest. I can't tell you the difference that it's made in our business. So that's an easy question to answer, Chris.